Minercraft Championship Season 8 is looking like it's going to be the most unforgettable edition of the event till date. There is no shortage of absolutely stacked teams like Dream and Technoblade, and if a team doesn't seem immediately overpowered, chances are that it'll probably be extremely entertaining. So before I get into this video, I have two things to say. First off, a massive hats off to S Major, link in the description, for coming up and somehow quite reasonably balancing such amazing teams. It's quite possible for literally any team to win this MCC, as even the weakest team could, statistically, clutch up in just one game and enter the top 2 spot. Second, this video is divided into 2 parts, an objective analysis and my own opinions, both of which are like timestamped in the video thing so you can easily skip to whichever part you want to watch. I'll clearly state or show on screen when I'm commentating or analysing in a non-objective fashion, and please remember that the things I say then are highly subjective and need not actually occur or be 100% true. They're just my best explanations. That said, please don't flame me in the comments if you don't like my opinion, but debate and discussion is heavily encouraged. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Anyway, let's get into the objective analysis of the teams. So these are the teams which I'm displaying on screen now. There are a lot of interesting matchups here, like the Aqua Axolotls, the Red Rabbits, or the extremely hyped Pink Parrots, all of which are interesting for different reasons. However, if I talk about that anymore, we're going to start getting subjective, so let's focus on the cold hard stats here. I'd like to give an absolutely massive shout out to Reddit user u/JTFL3 on screen now for compiling the average and individual scores of every player in MCC 1-7 and making his spreadsheet publicly available. I'm basing all of my stats off of his values. Anyway, I rearranged and recompiled all of that raw data into a spreadsheet of my own, which is made specially for MCC 8, and both the Reddit post and my spreadsheet are available to download in the description. Some of you particularly eagle-eyed viewers may see there are 2 main places in which this data might fail. First, I've taken into consideration the stats for Foot Race and not Ace Race, even though Foot Race has been removed. I did this because Foot Race has only been played once, and it wouldn't be very fair to judge every single player in the tournament based off of one new game that they've only played once. I have taken single game scores in some other places, but that's only where just the 1 or just 2 or 3 players have played the game once. Second, the Parkour Warrior and Build Mart stats are both prone to a very large amount of change, and both for different reasons. Parkour Warrior could change a lot because the map is changing for this MCC, and it might favour different parkour skills or styles. Build Mart will probably change because Dream and Techno's strategy for its last MCC, or MCC 7, completely changed the meta and made it more of a speed build contest rather than a memory contest. Now, without further ado, let's get into an analysis of each team's average score and rate them based on that. I'll also refer back to these stats later in the video in the subjective portion and factor in things like chemistry between players. Let's start with the bottom few teams then. Just based on raw statistics, I hold nothing against these teams and I don't mean to offend them in any way. First off, we have the Orange Ocelots. These guys, statistically, have the worst chance of winning. They're hurt by multiple things. First off, there's the fact that they have a completely new member in their team, Rip Mika or RIP Mika, who hasn't played in any previous MCCs and therefore could not help the team's average. This is furthered by the fact that Minecraft is not Mika's main game, which saved some other new participants like SP737. The rest of the team are good, but not good enough to completely recover from the loss that a new player caused, and that's why they're here in last place. Next up, we have the Yellow Yaks, also commonly known as the Hermitcraft team. This team is mainly affected by the fact that they're not PvP or minigame players as their main hobby. With Hermitcraft being more concentrated on building and redstone, the Yellow Yaks' real Minecraft skills aren't what are required in Minecraft Championships, and that's the main reason they're so far behind, despite Minecraft being their main game. After the Yellow Yaks, we have the Lime Llamas, but it's important to take note of the massive difference in average points between these guys and the Yellow Yaks. I was actually quite surprised after this team came in at such a low place, as they have, objectively, the best player in MCC, Pizza Hut. Pete's team of Catherine Elizabeth, Solidarity Gaming and In the Littlewood is also by no means a bad team. However, from what I can see, Pete and Catherine are polar opposites, as is well demonstrated by their Foot Race scores. This seems to sort of balance out Pete as an average player, which leaves the entire team feeling decidedly mediocre and just not up to the incredibly high standard set by the other teams of the competition. The Purple Pandas come in next position, with just one more average point than the Lime Llamas. This is another team that is, on its own, quite good, with absolutely cracked players like Fundy and Krinios. However, the place where the Pandas lose out is just by not having those 1 or 2 godlike players to really boost an otherwise solid team's average. Another thing to note is that Fundy also did extremely well in Ace Race, which, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not counting in these stats, and this probably also hurt the average score of the Pandas quite a bit. Next, we have the Blue Bats, a solid team which, again, just couldn't edge out the others for just 1 or 2 reasons. The main reason I can identify is that SB737, a veteran Minecraft player, was consigned to having his scores be the averages of the rest of the team. I did try to correct for this, given SB's experience, and I added 10 to the team average when using it for SB's score. Even after this very generous correction, the Blue Bats still fall short, simply because SB might have balanced out the team if he had actual scores to take into consideration, by adding more of a parkour-oriented player, maybe, to the team, to balance out the PvP legend that is Calvin. The Aqua Axolotls are up next, and the composition of this team should let you know just how close this competition is. These players are all at least better than average Minecraft players, if not better than that, and they're still in 5th place based on stats. I racked my brains to try and explain the score, but the only thing I could see was that in just a few select games, some of the Axolotls had extremely low or just low scores, and as far as I can tell, this caused them to miss out on those vital points which could have increased their average and got them a higher ranking. After the Axolotls, we have the Green Guardians, who have also been called the Dream Team minus Dream, especially since Eric betrayed Manberg in the Dream Team SMP. The Guardians also lost points in a similar manner to the Aqua Axolotls, with the low points in just a few games dragging their average down. It's also interesting to note the large gap between this team's PvP and movement-based game averages, especially when considering the next team has a much smaller difference. This team is also affected by the fact that Sapnap, an objectively quite good Minecraft player, played his first MCC during MCC 7. This learning curve in the first tournament meant that he got an uncharacteristically high number of low scores, which dragged the team as a whole down just those few extra points, which put them in 4th place. Next up are the Red Rabbits, coming in at a strong 3rd, also known as Sleepy Twitter and S Major. This team is very strong, with Filza, Wilbursut and Tommy in it all balancing each other out very well, and S Major performing quite well as well. This team is overall very strong, but comes in a 3rd because even though they have very good players, they don't have any god level players. This puts them just behind 2nd and 1st place, both of which have at least 1 god level player per team, along with a solid lineup of other players who keep the team's average up. The Red Rabbits also lost out on a lot of points due to Wilbur's poor performance in the first few games of Skyblockle, and even though he later got better at the game mode, these initial 0 to 10 point matches really affected Wilbur's and therefore the team's average. In 2nd place with an average of 313 points per player per game, we have the Cyan Creepers. This is an extremely strong team composed of seasoned Minecraft veterans like Captain Sparkles and Mefs. The main reason this team lost out was because Tapel, another extremely good Minecraft player, will be playing for the first time in MCC 8. This means that he's consigned to being an average of the other 3 players and can't help to balance the team in favour of PvP. He also didn't get the extra 10 points I added, like I did to SB737, to his scores, because I felt that it would be unfair to correct for team averages being low in such a stacked team. This team performed very well otherwise, barely having any low scores and getting an average over 200 in every single game. In 1st place though, is the team everyone's been talking about, the Pink Parrots. I'm almost saddened by the fact that Pink Pirates got 1st place, simply because it'll draw away attention from the other amazing teams and streamers that are going to participate because of the infamous Technoblade Dream collab. Either way, this team is absolutely insane. People seem to be overlooking King Byrne and Michael McChill, both of whom are solid players and who have just 1 score below 200 between them. With such a strong team, Techno and Dream's scores can really shine and are barely dragged down. Dream also really helped push the team's average higher with his Sands of Time score, as in MCC 7, he had his team funnel coins to him, drastically increasing his score. So that was the end of the objective, score-based analysis of each team. From this point on, all that I say is purely subjective and not really provable, it's just my opinion on matters. Okay, so now I'm going to quickly run through each team and mention how factors like team chemistry and their attitude towards playing could affect the team. The Red Rabbits, in my opinion, will have no problems at all with team chemistry, given that the team is made up of the Sleepy Twitter boys. They'll only need to get in sync with S Major, who most of them were teamed with before. It's also not that much of a stretch to see either Wilbur or Tommy assuming a leadership role for this team. The Orange Ocelots, as far as I can see, shouldn't have any problems with chemistry or leadership either, as I can really see Shubble assuming the role of team leader in the heat of the moment. The main thing I'd bring up here is that most of the Ocelots play for fun, and they likely won't try hard or take the tournament as seriously as some other teams might do. The Yellow Yaks, once again, will almost certainly not have any problems with chemistry. Having played together and talked on the same server for years, the only problem that might arise is that no clear leader figure will emerge, especially due to Hermitcraft being an extremely democratic server. It might take a few games for a player to step up and assume the role of team leader. The Green Guardians, being basically the dream team, probably won't have any chemistry troubles either, but leadership may be a large problem for them. Dream is generally the leader for Sapnapping George, and Kurtzy is a more reserved player, which would leave Eric to take charge as the leader. This dynamic, however, may take a few games to emerge, and therefore could put the Guardians at a disadvantage. The Blue Bats are the first team which I can see having some chemistry issues. Though CPK and Minimuka know each other, I'm fairly certain that Calvin, Minimuka and SB737 have never really talked or played together. Before practice for this event, of course. This could lead to some problems, and this, coupled with the factor that there's no clear leader figure for this team, makes the subjective side of things a rather large problem for the Blue Bat. The Purple Pandas are also a team I can see having some chemistry issues. Though Krinios, Carvacorvus and Sylvie are good friends, Fundy is not known to associate with any of the members of the Pandas. And this could lead to miscommunications in the early games unless the team practices a lot together and develops this chemistry. I think that Krinios will also take the role of leader for this group, as he seems to know most of the members better than the rest. The Lime Llamas are a team which I can see doing very well on the chemistry front, though they might take a few practice games to properly form that bond. It also doesn't take much imagination to see the Lime Llamas working together very well, with Pizza Hut assuming the role of team leader. The Aqua Axolotls also seem to be a team with great chemistry and a well-developed rapport, with Quig and H-Bomb having already won an MCC together. The addition of F-Whip and Smallish Beans won't be too hard in my opinion, as F-Whip and H-Bomb have already teamed before, as have Quig and F-Whip. The role of leader could be taken on just as easily by any member of this team, and given the versatility of their skill sets, this is a good thing, as each Axolotl will lead in the games that they excel at. This brings us to the penultimate team, the Cyan Creepers. This team, as I said before, is stacked. Meths, Sparkles and Puffy have all teamed before, although in separate teams, which will mean that Tapel will be the only new element to consider for all of them, and it's not too hard to imagine him gelling into the team very easily. Just like the Axolotls, the leader in this team could be variable, however, for similar reasons, I'd consider this a good thing. And lastly, we have the Pink Parrots, the team with Technoblade and Dream teaming together. Now, the chemistry between Dream and Techno is undeniable, but neither of them have teamed with Burren or Michael McChill before. For any other team, this might have been a bad sign, but for the Pink Parrots, it isn't as bad as it sounds, mainly due to Techno and Dream both being obsessive planners, as was seen in Build Mart of MCC7. I don't think it's too much of a stretch to assume that Techno and Dream have been playing and practicing with Burren and McChill as much as possible, or at least so much more than the other teams that the chemistry aspect becomes a given. I'm not disrespecting the other teams here, but Techno and Dream are such meticulous planners that it's hard not to see them doing just that much more than the other teams. Okay, a quick editor's note here. While editing this video, Michael McChill just made a tweet which implied that the team hasn't even practiced yet, so the point that I just said could be completely invalid, and I'm just popping in here to let you know. Another thing going for this team is that Dream and Techno are two of the largest streamers in the event, and they will almost certainly just dictate the audience takeover round. There is one thing going against this team, however, which is leadership. Both Techno and Dream are used to being the leaders of their groups, and there may be a little bit of a power conflict between the two of them in the initial games. After this slight conflict, however, I'm fairly certain that Dream will take the role as leader, as he is more energetic and loud during these events, while the more reserved Technoblade will take a backseat. So after all of this, who do I think is going to win? Well, in my opinion, it's a toss-up between the Pink Parrots and the Cyan Creepers. And not just because they're teams 1 and 2 objectively. I think that if either Techno or Dream performs to their fullest and none of the other Parrots choke, that the Pink Parrots have this in the bag. However, it's entirely possible that A, the Parrots choke and lose their nerve, or B, Dream and Techno don't really take the tournament as seriously as they usually do, instead focusing on being more entertaining and playing up the mean while they have more viewers. If either of these happens, I'm fairly certain the more serious Cyan Creepers would win MCC 8. Anyway, those were just my opinions, so do make sure to form your own based on this information and let me know down in the comments below. And that's it, guys. That's my analysis for the teams of MCC8 and my prediction of the winner. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you made it this far, go hit that subscribe button. At the time of recording the script, we just hit 5,000 subscribers, and 99% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you could help me out and just hit that subscribe button down below, that would be a really big help. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.